got another one coming up soon where we're going to make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. Those two, you don't have to choose one or the other. We're going to have both in Ohio, and it's great leadership that makes that happen. Now, I've got an important duty today because in just a minute I'm going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. But before I do, too often we just let these words kind of roll off our tongues and we don't stop to think about what the Pledge of Allegiance is. It's a solemn promise. It's a rededication of what it means to be an American, that we love this country and what it stands for, that we're willing to sacrifice for it. I want to recognize those who have sacrificed greatly for it. Would my fellow veterans, if you are able, please rise so that we can recognize you. Stay standing. And now here in America's heartland, all who are able stand up on their feet, proudly place their right hands over their hearts, and they say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks so much, everybody. God bless.
Please welcome Senior Maintenance Technician at Cleveland Cliffs, John Foster.
Appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity to do this for you today, and appreciate the good 25 years I've had here at this company. I love all of you. Appreciate y'all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes, bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in it, gave proof the night that our flag is still there. Say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please welcome Chairman and CEO of Cleveland Cliffs, Lorenzo Gonzalez.
I know he hurt you, made you scared of love, too scared to love. He didn't.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, my team. I love you. It's good to be here with you guys today. It's an honor for Cleveland Cliffs to host Vice President JD Vance, Secretary Wright, and elected officials from Ohio, including Governor Mike DeWine, Senator Bernie Moreno, Senator John Husted, and several others. Today's event celebrates Cleveland Cliffs' investment of $1 billion in Middletown works. This investment was only made possible through the support we got of $500 million from the Donald Trump administration and the U.S. Department of Energy. So thank you very much for that. Middletown Works today is already one of the top 3 steel plants in the world producing automotive-grade steel, as of right now, at the same level of one in Japan and one in South Korea, and nothing else. With this investment, we're going to be here in Middletown, by far, the best automotive-grade plant in the world. Besides all the upgrades to the existing steel mill, we're going to add a co-generating facility here that will produce electricity and steam for the mill. And that will free up energy to be used by the community here in Middletown, because we'll no longer need it. We're going to produce our own. This investment will preserve 2,350 good-paying jobs, including union jobs for the skilled men and women of the IAM Local 1943 of my president, Sean Coffey. Where's Sean? Please stand, Sean. This project will ensure that we are going to be the most energy efficient steel mill in the United States and the top of the line in the entire world. At peak construction, the project will employ 1,500 workers, including employment for the local building trades. The investment is being made possible by President Trump's steel Section 232 tariffs. They are anchored on national security. This place is national security. This place is important for the defense of this country. That's what we're doing here. That's where you guys work, Middletown Works. Section 232 has been the single most effective industrial policy implemented in our country in more than a generation. The President, steel Section 232 tariffs have been instrumental in reducing steel imports, ensuring U.S. national security, and facilitating transformational investments in the United States, including this $1 billion investment in Middletown. These tariffs, these Section 232 steel tariffs, must be maintained. Closing, I would like once again to thank President Trump and his administration for their partnership and support of Cleveland-Cliffs. It's a big honor to have here today a Middletown person that became, coming from humble origins here in the Middletown area, became the Vice President of the United States. It's a great pleasure to host Vice President JD Vance here. There's no end in sight for Middletown Works. We are here to stay. So what started long, long ago under the beautiful technology banner of Armico, and when it was Armico, Vice President JD Vance's grandfather worked here and retired here after 30 years of work, retired as a welder. So that's the American dream. When someone like Gene Vance has a grandson that becomes Vice President of the United States. It's a big day for this plant, big day for Cleveland-Cliffs. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Please welcome Undersecretary of the International Trade Administration, William Kimmett.
It is great to be here in Middletown, a place I have been fortunate to visit on many occasions. One of my closest friends was born and raised right here and works around the corner at Acres Packaging. Through my relationship with him and his family, I have developed a deep appreciation for this community. I know what an exceptional town Middletown is, and I know the character and extraordinary work ethic of its people. Thank you, Lorenzo, for the invitation to be here today, for your leadership, and for your unwavering commitment to American steel production. Most importantly, thank you to the men and women of Middletown Works, including the proud members of IAM Local 1943, the steel workers, the operators, the maintenance teams, the engineers, the people who show up every day and make the steel that builds America. Thank you all. I also want to recognize three tremendous champions for Ohio here with us today: Senator Bernie Moreno, Senator John Husted, and Congressman Warren Davidson. These are three powerful voices in Washington and tireless advocates for Ohio's workers and manufacturers. And of course, we will soon be joined by Vice President JD Vance, a proud son of Middletown, who fights every day for the workers and families who make communities like this one strong. And like me, Vice President Vance has the honor of serving under the leadership of the greatest champion of American manufacturing of all, President Donald Trump. For decades, Washington politicians accepted factory closures, displaced workers, unfair foreign competition, and critical supply chains moving overseas as inevitable. President Trump rejected that surrender. He immediately took bold and decisive action under a previously little-known authority called Section 232, implementing a tariff structure that ensures American steel workers and American manufacturers can finally compete on a level playing field. Without steel, we become reliant on other countries for the products and infrastructure that powers our lives, drive our economy, and defend our nation. Simply put, a nation that can't make its own steel cannot secure its own future. That's why President Trump imposed strong steel tariffs under Section 232, closed loopholes, eliminated exceptions, and confronted efforts to circumvent our trade laws. He ensured that dumped and subsidized foreign steel could no longer flood our markets and undercut American workers. And the results are already evident. In 2025, the United States returned to the top 3 steel producing nations in the world for the first time in 26 years. That doesn't happen by luck or by accident. It happens when you have a president and an entire administration committed to producing more steel in America, investing in American capacity, and standing behind American steel workers. Just a few weeks ago, Lorenzo captured the results perfectly during an earnings call. He said, "Section 232 has been the single most effective industrial policy implemented in our country in a generation. We applaud President Trump, Secretary Howard Lutnick, and USTR Ambassador Jamieson Greer for their conviction in these policies." And Lorenzo continued saying, "The results are visible. Manufacturing investment is accelerating. Domestic steel utilization is improving. Capital is being allocated to US-based production rather than offshore production. The reshoring movement that's now occurring throughout American manufacturing simply would not be happening at its current scale without Section 232 and the enforced mechanisms that support it." Lorenzo is exactly right, and the numbers back him up. American factory activity has reached its fastest pace of expansion in 4 years. New orders have expanded for 7 straight months. The manufacturing employment index is expanding and growing for the first time in years. and U.S. goods exports are on pace to reach $2.5 trillion this year, which would shatter every previous record. That's what happens when you have a leader like President Trump in the White House and an entire administration behind him focused on delivering meaningful results for American workers and communities. Today's announcement here in Middletown shows those priorities translating into real investment and renewed confidence in American industry. For too long, Washington told communities throughout Ohio that industrial decline was inevitable. Today, Middletown is delivering a very different message. America isn't finished building, we're just getting started. Thanks to President Trump, our next generation will not grow up hearing only stories about what America used to make. They will see this furnace running, workers on the job, and American steel rolling out of this mill. They will know that America chose to stand behind its workers, rebuild its industrial strength, and secure its own future. That future is being forged right here by the men and women of Middletown Works, and I'm proud to be here today to celebrate this historic investment with all of you. Thank you very much.
Please welcome Assistant Secretary of Energy, Audrey Robertson.
Heaven is a place on earth. They say in heaven, love comes first. We'll make heaven our place.
Wow, I like the walk-up music. Good morning, everyone. First, I couldn't say another word without thanking Lorenzo and the wonderful management team he has, the wonderful people around me. The long-standing partnership we have had with Cleveland Cliffs at the Department of Energy is the reason we're here today, and it's such an honor and privilege to be with all of you. So thank you for advancing the goals of American energy and advancing the goals of Middletown, Ohio. The men and women do more than make steel here. Your labor supplies the infrastructure and material that put cars on our roads, that build our buildings, and that enable every other vital industry in America. And for over a century, your labor has underwritten American prosperity. Today, we're honoring that proud legacy of the past and ensuring the future of American steelmaking with a landmark $1 billion investment in this facility. Yeah. That investment is supported, as Lorenzo mentioned, with a $500 million grant from the Department of Energy. This is one of the largest investments out of my office, yet it is not just a financial investment. It is a vote of confidence in the American worker, in the state of Ohio, and in President Trump and Vice President Vance's staunch belief that the future of heavy industry belongs right here on American soil. It's important to know that this transformational investment has not been a passive activity or carried over in its prior context from the last administration. In fact, the prior administration had ideas of what American steel should look like, but their ideas violated both the laws of physics and economics, remarkably at the same time. However, the Trump administration, we believe in the tenets of science and engineering, and the importance of industries operating profitably right here in the United States. We believe that steel making is not a relic of the past, but a pillar of American growth and prosperity of our nation. The investments today implement a wide range of technological upgrades to secure the long-term viability of this plant, which include a fully upgraded modern blast furnace. It will be the newest, most amazing blast furnace in the nation. It will have an AI-driven system to automate and optimize certain elements of furnace operations, which will make it run more efficiently and more profitably. It will have a waste heat to power facility, as was mentioned earlier, which is another way that we are making this facility set for the future and a partner with the community. It will also have a new system that cools molten slag and turns it into a valuable ingredient for concrete. So what does that mean? It means modern steelmaking at its very finest. It means quality, union-backed, high-paying American jobs. And it means secured livelihoods for thousands of skilled workers currently at this plant and new opportunities for the next generation of engineers, technicians, and steel workers. It means reducing America's dependence on foreign products and improving the competitiveness in our key domestic industries. So congratulations to the men and women here in Middletown, Ohio, and at Cleveland Cliffs on this historic achievement. This was enabled through the relentless support of the Trump administration and our belief in the American workers, which are the foundation of our economy. And that economy has been and always will be based on steel. Thank you.
Please welcome Ohio Governor Mike DeWine.
Wow, what a great day for Ohio. Let me thank our two secretaries, Secretary Robertson, Secretary Commit, for bringing such good news from the President of the United States. We appreciate that very, very much, and it won't be too much longer until the Vice President will be here. And we're very, very proud of him and appreciate his great work for our country every single day. To my friend Lorenzo, thank you for believing in Ohio. Thank you for believing in these great workers that you see here today. We are very, very grateful. You know, Ohio is, at this point in our history, this is really our time. We are red hot. Just a couple facts. A couple weeks ago, CNBC that rates states every single year and how they're doing in regard to business rated Ohio the #1 state for doing business. We got numbers this morning at 8:30 this morning when they put the news out. Unemployment, we have the lowest unemployment. We matched the lowest unemployment we've ever had in the state of Ohio since they've been keeping track. And one more little statistic. Ohio has more jobs filled today than at any time in our history. We're moving. We are bringing companies from California. They're leaving California, they're leaving New York, they're leaving the two coasts, and they're coming to the heartland. They're coming here to Ohio. We see company after company that is making that decision. They recognize what we have going for us in Ohio. And one of the things we have is a long, long history of leading in manufacturing. The men and women who you see here today, they do it right. And people are beginning to see that. We have the 3rd largest manufacturing workforce in the entire country. These men and women make a difference. When we look at the numbers that I just recited, I have to mention, because it's true, that Senator Houston, who was my lieutenant governor for many, many years, played a major, major role in getting Ohio where it is and in bringing many of these companies to this state. And I thank him for that leadership. I thank him and Senator Marino for the job they're doing representing us in Congress and for all our delegation. To my friend Lorenzo, it seems like just yesterday that you and I and then Lieutenant Governor Houston were in Toledo. where you had just put $1.1 billion into your Toledo factory, one of the most modern in the world. And we thank you again for believing in this great state. You are a visionary, you're bold, you are in fact a truly great leader, and Ohio is blessed to have you. I have driven by this plant for almost all my life. I went to Miami University, kind of cut through, and seen the workers. We have the best in the world. We have truly the best in the world. They do a phenomenal job. The investment by the President and the investment by Lorenzo is going to ensure this plant will stay modern, will stay competitive, and will be employing people for decades and decades and decades and decades in the future. This truly is a great day for the state of Ohio. Thank you all very much.
Please welcome from Ohio's 1st Congressional District, Eric Conroy.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And firstly, I'd like to thank Vice President Vance and Secretary Wright the opportunity to say a few words today. As mentioned, I am the Republican nominee for Congress in Ohio District 1. This is a new district. It includes all of Warren County, all of Clinton County, and most of Hamilton County. This is expected to be a top 10 race in the country this year that could determine control of the House. I'm a son of Southwest Ohio myself. My family has called this region home for well over 100 years, and I've dedicated my life to service. First, I graduated from the Air Force Academy and spent 7 years as an Air Force officer, working mostly in special operations. And then after that, I spent another 7 years as a frontline CIA officer, conducting missions in war zones in the Middle East that kept America safe. But for me, it all started here. I was raised in a hardworking Ohio family. My grandfather laid carpet, and my mother cleaned homes. So I understand the value of a hard day's work. And for that, I have to tip my hat to all the hardworking folks here at Cleveland Cliffs who keep this region and country moving. Few things are tougher than steel, and few jobs are tougher than the ones that you all do right here in this plant. So again, thank you. But today, I'd also like to tip my hat to President Trump and his fantastic administration for reversing the damage done by the Democrats in the Biden administration. And let's talk about a few of these successes. Firstly, since President Trump took office, inflation is down to COVID-era lows, and the economy has added nearly 900,000 private sector jobs. Additionally, blue-collar wage growth had its highest year-to-date increase in 60 years. 60 years, think about that. And now President Trump's working family tax cuts, which include no taxes on tips and overtime, created tax breaks for nearly 97% of filers this year. Folks, make no mistake, this administration is putting money back into the pockets of working-class Ohio families for the betterment of themselves and their communities. And furthermore, as most of the previous speakers noted, a key to this administration's strategy is producing the building blocks that make this economy thrive, and that is steel and energy, which is done right here at Cleveland Cliffs. And the modernization effort here at Cleveland Cliffs is not only fantastic locally, but it's critical nationally for our security and our economy. Folks, this is what common sense Republican policies look like, and this is what a President Trump American-led country looks like. This administration's success in less than 2 years is nothing short of remarkable, and I look forward to joining them in Washington next year to continue putting American families and companies first. Thank you so much.
Please welcome to the stage Vivek Ramaswamy.
Great to see you. Middletown, thank you for the warm welcome. Excited to bring JD Vance back home later today. It's good to see him real soon. Thank you. Thank you, and appreciate the warm welcome here. In politics, we often spend a lot of time talking about what's broken and what needs to be fixed, and we're going to do that. But we can only successfully fix what needs to be fixed if we're first grateful for what we're actually getting right. And I will tell you this, as a father of 3 young kids, 2 of whom I sent off to school this morning before coming here, there is no other country in the world, there is no other state in the world where I would rather be raising those kids than here in the United States of America, right here in our state of Ohio. There's no other country in the world where any of us would rather live than in the greatest country known in the history of mankind. Think about the people you're hearing from today. Lorenzo Goncalves, who we all should celebrate this man, making $1 billion investment alongside the U.S. government right here in Middletown. Think of Lorenzo's story. 3 decades ago, boarded a plane with his wife and his kids, and he told me backstage 13 bags, because he didn't want to send them by mail. He wanted to make sure they got here. That was it. Came to this country in the late 90s and lived the American dream to lead one of America's leading steel producers. Think of Bernie Moreno, John Husted, each of whom have lived their American dream, coming from Columbia in Bernie's case. The kid that came out of foster care to be adopted in John Husted's case. Both of them now U.S. senators. JD Vance from humble beginnings in Middletown, Ohio, now the Vice President of the United States. Their stories are America's stories. My story is America's story. The kid of middle-class parents, a father who worked off the GE plant on I-75 through Jack Welch's layoffs, a mother who took care of nursing home patients in Southwest Ohio and worked at the VA, went to public schools through 8th grade, went on to found successful companies, and now raising my kids in circumstances that my parents would have never imagined possible just a generation ago. And the extraordinary part of that story, and the story of basically everybody you're hearing on this stage today, is that it's really not that extraordinary in the United States of America. This is the country on God's green earth where that story is not only possible, it is normal. And the reason I am running for governor is that I'm on a moral mission to turn that American dream into a reality once again here in our home state of Ohio, because our workers deserve it, because our families deserve it, because you deserve it, because the people of this state deserve it. You work hard, you play by the rules. You deserve to have a good life and dream for an even better life for your kids. The thing that makes Ohio great, and the reason I love this state, is for many other states it might be their mountains or their beaches. For us, it is our people. It is the people of Ohio that I believe make this state special. And what I hope to do in a few short years ahead is to make Ohio the state that Texas and Florida and Tennessee actually look up to, rather than the other way around. To govern Ohio as the conservative state that we actually are. And I do believe this November, we're talking 75 days from now, this November marks a fork in the road for the future of Ohio. It marks a fork in the road for the future of our country. On one hand, on November 4th, we can wake up to an Ohio where you're paying lower electric bills because we are producing more energy here in America and here at home in Ohio. We can wake up to an Ohio where you're paying lower property taxes because we're actually downsizing the layers of government on the back of your citizens. So you get to live in the home that you bought without having to pay an over-abusive rent to a government that isn't actually serving our people sufficiently, okay? Lower electric bills, lower property taxes, lower health care expenses through price transparency, and by prosecuting Medicaid fraud by the billions to put that money back in your pockets where it belongs. And schools that actually prepare for our kids to compete in the economy of the future. Math, reading, and writing instead of gender ideology and woke ideology. That's not too much to ask from our schools either. And the beauty of our country is that that choice for Ohio, that choice for the future of our state, that choice for the future of Middletown, that choice for the future of America belongs to nobody else other than to us. To we, the people who create a government that is accountable to us, not the other way around. This is the year that we celebrate the 250th anniversary of the greatest nation ever known to the history of man. That we celebrate the signing of the greatest mission statement for a nation ever written in human history, the Declaration of Independence. The idea that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among these, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is the year where it's up to us to make that choice and actually choose. And so, my only ask of all of you here, on my behalf, hopefully as the next governor of this state, on John Husted's behalf, continually as hopefully the next U.S. Senator representing alongside Bernie Moreno this state, my ask on all of our behalf is that you do your part, you come out and vote. Vote 10 times this November, okay? And I don't mean that like some people mean it. I mean you vote once, and everybody in this room, you bring 9 other people from Greater Middletown, from Southwest Ohio, from wherever you are in Ohio. Bring 9 other people out who may not have otherwise voted, and you tell them what we talk about here today. You tell them about how we in the Republican Party are actually going to make their lives continually better, as we already have and will continue to do. And if you all do your part, I promise you that my family and I, the men and women on this stage today, their families and they will do their part to ensure that Middletown's best days, that Ohio's best days, and honest to God, through Ohio, America's best days are actually still ahead of us. Let's win this thing and make Ohio and make America greater than we have ever been. God bless you guys in Middletown, and may God bless our great state of Ohio. Thank you, guys.
Please welcome U.S. Congressman Warren Davidson.
Girl, above us all the stars are watching. There's no place I'd rather be in this world. Your eyes are...
I'm Warren Davidson. I still love this country with a soldier's passion, and I will tell you, thank you for having me celebrate with you today. What an awesome thing to celebrate. I remember when I met Lorenzo, when he was first coming to this area buying AK steel. I asked him, what are your plans for this? And he told me, I have great plans for Middletown, Ohio. We're going to put money into Middletown. These guys are top performers. Thank you all. You know, unless somebody makes the stuff, there's no stuff, right? Thank you guys for making the stuff, but doing it well. Because when you look at now Cleveland Cliffs and the footprint they have all over the United States and frankly steel making around the world, capital goes wherever. You guys have to perform day in and day out. So thank you for crushing it. We know you're going to keep doing it, and thank you for setting the conditions for this big investment. You know, the Bible in Proverbs says, without a vision, people perish. Lorenzo had a vision, but so did President Trump. You know, when he came to office, he started talking about our unfair trade deals. Now, Ross Perot, with the benefit of hindsight, was right. He said there would be a giant sucking sound if you do these trade deals the way you're going to do them. And people are still reluctant to admit it. They still want to attack Donald Trump for finally doing something about it. You know, I got out of the Army, I got into manufacturing, we made stuff. We had 2 plants in Troy, 1 in Fairfield, a couple of hundred employees when I stepped away to run for this job and get the chance to serve my country again in Congress. And you still have the debates in the hall today. Are we doing the right thing? Are we doing the right thing here today, Middletown? So many hands make light work. Thank you so much. So from the president down to the guy that just started working third shift here in this plant, to Lorenzo and the executive team for seeing it here today. It's an honor to play a small part in it. Thank you for having me celebrate today. I can't wait to keep coming back and seeing you guys kicking butt and taking names. God bless you all. God bless America.
Please welcome U.S. Senator from Ohio, Bernie Moreno.
You know, most politicians like to talk about themselves. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk about a gentleman that graduated from high school a long time ago, went to work the next day at Gary Works at U.S. Steel in Indiana. Worked there for about 15 years, then moved here to work for Armco in 1992. He worked there in the maintenance shop, got promoted, was able to buy a home, raise a family, live in a safe community. And then a company from Japan came and bought the company. I'm going to quote him. This is not me saying this for the media. He said they totally screwed up the company. They made it AK Steel and retired. And he was sick and tired of politicians who shipped jobs overseas, would give lip service and come out and say how they fought for American workers and enabled companies to screw over their workers, have these companies go overseas chasing labor as cheap as they could get. That man is the father of my wife of 37 years, Dennis Brickley. And he lives not too far from here. He retired with dignity. He lived a great life. And I like to say that that is actually the American dream. The American dream isn't starting a tech company in your basement and becoming a billionaire. The American dream is being able to live a good life where you can own that home, you can raise a family on one income, by the way, and then be able to retire knowing that you're going to have a dignified retirement. It's that simple concept that our politicians sold us out on. I was in the private sector, like to say, having a very nice life, until a gentleman named Dr. Fauci decided to rain holy hell on all of us. And I said, you know what? These guys have no idea what they're doing. So you know what? Decided to run for the United States Senate, and I beat a guy who'd been around for 50 years, making promise after promise. And yet he voted with Bernie Sanders, AOC, and Nancy Pelosi every single time. He said he was for the American worker. Guess what? He let tens of millions of illegals come here to get your taxpayer dollars to give them education and health care. He supported men and women's bathrooms. I think that's kind of stupid. He supported transgender surgeries on children. That's absolutely insane. And what we've done is completely reverse all of that. But it's not just enough to talk about what the president has done. What is Congress going to do? Because we can't rely on an executive alone. We've got to put these things into law. I am so proud to have gotten a bill across the finish line out of the Commerce Committee called the Connected Vehicle Security Act. Here's what it does. A Chinese vehicle will never be allowed to enter the United States of America, be produced here, or in any way be in this country. Imagine what would happen if we're dumb like Europe, where they're committing industrial suicide. They've lost hundreds of thousands of auto jobs, steel jobs, rubber jobs, because they decided it was a good idea to bring subsidized Chinese vehicles into their countries. We will not allow that to happen. This is the agenda for this year to get that done. I told Lorenzo it's not good enough for me to have you guys be in the top 3 in steel auto producing in the world. This place needs to be number 1 in the world. We need to grow the employment here. We need to make sure that each and every single one of you, with great representation from your union, has the ability to live that great American life. And I don't know about you guys, I was just so sick and tired of these promises from politicians. And look, I'm going to serve for 1 more term, and then I'm going to go home, because these shouldn't be jobs forever either. Because let me just tell you something. What happens in Washington, D.C. is not the real world. I talked to some of my colleagues that have been there longer than the buildings. And it's unbelievable. They have no idea how any of this stuff works. And what they do is they get sucked into a bubble where they're only talking to their wealthy donors. We have to make certain that the people who are represented in Washington, D.C. are conscious of one simple fact. The middle class, the American worker, built this country. The American middle class is who protects this country, and it's our job to make certain that we have your backs, and that's what you got to know I'm going to fight for every single day. Thank you.
Please welcome U.S. Senator from Ohio, John Husted.
Are you having fun? Well, I will tell you what, it is great to be back. I've been here, this is my 3rd time being in this facility. I love watching the hot steel come off the line. I mean, that just like, when you look at that, that's America, baby, isn't it? It's just so cool. This is a great day. I'm so excited to be here. It's a great day for Cleveland Cliffs, but it's a great day for all of you and for your families and for Middletown, this community. And it's a great day for America. It really is. This is what the America First agenda looks like. It's about these folks right here. It's about places like Cleveland Cliffs. It's about steel manufacturers. That's what the America First agenda is all about, because it's about your jobs and your family and making sure that America can make the products that we need every day for our economic and national security, and that's what you do. Great. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you believe that America needs to be able to make steel to be economically and nationally secure? Do you believe it? Well, we lost a lot of steel jobs and we lost a lot of steel factories, but it's coming back to America again. So I want to share something with you, because I imagine a lot of you don't know this, but if you look back, I remember when I was growing up in Ohio, and in the 80s and 90s, and this state was dying. It really was. My family experienced it firsthand. My dad worked at a machine tool factory called Mohawk Tools. I worked 3rd shift there as well. I probably am the only guy in the U.S. Senate that's ever worked 3rd shift in a factory. But I remember the day that my dad told me that his job was going away and that my whole family was going to have to leave Ohio because there was no place to go to work in the little town I grew up in. It was a tough day. He was being strong for our family. I could hear it in his voice. But he was also worried about his family, because it wasn't just his job that went away. It was 2 of my uncles and my aunt as well who worked there. And in a town of 4,000, when you lose 400 jobs, that's a big deal. There's no place to go to work. There's nobody to sell your house to. there's not a lot of hope about that future. And the reason that happened is because of American policymakers. There were people in this country over time that thought it was okay to send our jobs to China, get back cheap products in return, and weaken, basically export American manufacturing. And they voted for policies that made that happen, that affected families like mine, families like I'm sure many of you, from Youngstown to Cincinnati, everywhere across the state. Ohio was struggling. Ohio was truly struggling. But today is a new day. It truly is. It's a new day because of the America First agenda, because we've turned Ohio into a state that's now ranked the #1 state in the country to do business. We used to be 34th, now we're #1 again. We've added in this state 3,000 manufacturing jobs. I remember when there were presidents who were saying, candidates for presidents, that manufacturing's dead, manufacturing jobs are gone, manufacturing's not coming back to America. They were wrong. We can bring back manufacturing to this great country in places like Middletown and across places across our great state. And it's important. And why is it important that we do this? Investments like this, $1 billion investment right here. Because it's job security. It's economic security. It is national security. You have to be able to make the things that are essential for your economic and national security if you want to be a great nation. Don't you need to do that? Exactly right. We've got to do those things. We can do it in Ohio, and we're doing it right here in Middletown. Now, I'm proud to have played a small role in this, because I know when I took the oath of office and I said I was going to fight for you, this is the kind of thing, this is what the America First agenda is. It's about places like this. It's about investments like this, but making sure that we have the energy we need. But you have to understand, there are a lot of people in Washington and people who've been in Washington. They don't get it. They don't get what it takes to be great. They don't get the fact that radical policies, and I want to tell you this right now, you want to have lower electricity prices, I want to tell you why they're rising. Because Congress, and under the Obama administration, under the Biden administration, they closed 23 power plants in the state of Ohio, representing half the electricity we use on a daily basis. They did it. Radical climate policies did that, shut them down, and now we have a supply and demand problem. We've got to build more power plants. We've got to build an all-of-the-above energy strategy. We've got to do what we're doing here in Middletown, investing in clean energy that's going to help power a steel plant. How does a steel plant run without electricity? Does it run very well? It doesn't run. And you got to have it 24/7, 365. You got to build the capacity to make America work. And we're going to build more factories, and we're going to build more power plants, and we're going to fuel this nation. We're going to fuel its renaissance and its revival to make sure that Americans are proud onto the future. Because 250 years ago, people of this nation sacrificed greatly to give us our birth. And I know I love the America 250 celebration, and I've done this for over 20 years. I get up in the morning on Independence Day and I read the Declaration of Independence every year. And I love that, we love the lines that we know, but the last line, we pledge our lives, our fortunes, our sacred honor. We're all in this together. And there are so many people that have sacrificed over those 250 years to give us this great nation. We owe it to them. We owe it to our children and grandchildren to continue to make America the greatest nation in the world. And I'll close with this, because I'm asking you to get out there and vote this year, to tell your friends and family what you're fighting for, what you believe in, that we stand for America first. But George Washington tells a story in some of the writings that he had made about winter at Valley Forge. He said that you could trace the movements of his army by the blood in the snow, because many of his soldiers didn't have shoes or clothing or food to eat. I'm not asking you to winter at Valley Forge or fight the Civil War or storm the beaches of Normandy. I'm asking you to get out there and fight over the next 75 days for democracy, for America, for the American way, for the America First policy. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Coming to ya on a dusty road. Good loving, I got a truckload. And when you get it, you got something. So don't worry, 'cause I'm when the rains came. Down in the hollow, playing a new game. Laughing and a running, hey, hey. Skipping and a jumping. In the misty morning fog with all our hearts a thumping and you, a brown-eyed girl. You, my brown-eyed girl. And whatever happened to Tuesday and so slow? Gone down the old man with a transistor radio. Standing in the sunlight laughing, hiding behind a rainbow's wall. Slipping and sliding all along the waterfall with you, a brown-eyed girl.
Please welcome Secretary of Energy, Chris Wright.
Wow. I'm going to start with a giant thank you. Thank you to everyone in this room, everyone working at the Middletown Iron Works. You make our world possible, our life possible. I'm honored to stand here in this, what is truly a cathedral to American industrial might. This is how America became the greatest nation ever in history and the ultimate land of opportunity for 300+ million Americans. I met the Vice President about 10 years ago, right after his stirring memoir came out. I had quite an impression when we first dialogued. It's a classic American story, a pursuit of the American dream. Does not matter where you're from, it's about where you're going. The Vice President had a plan, and he created and lived the American dream. But it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. We've had forces over the last few decades, the deindustrialization of our country, that were simply tragic and colossal mistake. Coastal leftist democratic ideas that somehow big, strong, powerful things were out of fashion. We should push those overseas to be made in Asia, and we'll just buy the products when they come back. We should be pencil pushers and computer keyboard tappers. That was a vision of America, but a very narrow and false vision of America. There is no great power, no great nation without industrial might. Thank you. The United States became the largest producer of steel in the world in the late 1880s. That is marked, it went hand in hand because they go together with the rise of America's economic, industrial, and military power. At the end of World War II, the United States produced almost 70% of total global steel production. 70%. That's American power. America's the best. We have the best workers, the best businesses, and the best values to pass on our jobs, our ideas, our skills to our children and our grandchildren. And as I said, we lost our way. We decided politicians would make it hard to build stuff in America. I think you know which politicians. Democrats lost belief in our industrial might and made it so hard to build things in our country. Our steel industry declined to only 5% of global steel production. That is not America. That's not where we're going to stay. That's the wrong place. President Trump and Vice President Vance, they ran for election on a simple idea. We're going to reindustrialize America. We're going to sweep out the nonsense, bring back common sense, double down on American workers, and bring America's industrial might back to Ohio and back to all 50 states in this incredible country we're all honored to live in. I will tell you a renaissance is possible. The United States oil production peaked in 1971. It declined for 35 years. We became the largest importer of oil in the world, the largest importer of natural gas in the world, just like we are in steel, completely dependent on the rest of the world. For the backbone of industrial society is energy and steel. Those are the backbones of industrial society. What happened with our oil production and our natural gas production is we had a renaissance. Today we're by far the world's largest producer of oil, by far the world's largest producer of natural gas. In fact, we're the largest net exporter of oil and natural gas on planet Earth. We did it with oil and gas. We can do it with steel also. That's a setup for my partner, my friend, and the Vice President of the United States of America. What transformed his story from an American success story into a hero story is when he achieved success. He didn't coast, he didn't lay back, he doubled down and dug deep, deciding to fight every day relentlessly so that all of you, all of Americans, could have a better shot at the American dream, could have a fairer shot at the American dream, to move the barriers and the bad decisions out of the way that made life in industrial America so hard these last few decades. We betrayed our children. We betrayed our grandchildren. Vice President Vance and President Trump are committed 7 days a week to reverse that. Illustrated right here by our Department of Energy's partnership with this fantastic company, Cleveland Cliffs, to invest $1 billion to make this the best steel plant on planet Earth. I'm now going to welcome to the stage someone who's an inspiration to me, the leader of the reindustrializing the United States of America, working with the senators in Ohio, the governor in Ohio, and the leadership to make our country great again. God bless you. God bless Middletown Works. God bless the fabulous state of Ohio. God bless the United States of America. And God bless our unbelievable Vice President, JD Vance.
Wow, it is great to be home. It is great to be back in Middletown, Ohio, and it is great to be with the greatest group of American patriots anywhere in the world. God bless you all, and thank you for having me. Before I get started, I got to give some shout outs here because we have a lot of amazing political candidates. We have some leaders and future leaders, and I'm going to try to get through as many as I can. But first, I've got to give a shout out to my great friend and the next United States Senator, my replacement as the next United States Senator from the state of Ohio, John Husted. John, please stand up. Thank you. We've also got, I believe, a great gubernatorial candidate, a great governor of Ohio, but also a great next governor of Ohio, my friend Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek, please stand up and say hello. So you all may not know, but I have a 6-year-old son, our second child, named Vivek. And when I came back home a couple of weeks ago to vote in the primary elections, my favorite internet meme, Vivek, I don't know if you saw this, but so I brought my 6-year-old little boy with me, and we had a day of travel all over the country, actually. And I hold his hand into the polling booth, and he votes for like whether he prefers caramel apples or watermelon or something. They have some kid polling ballot to fill out. And then somebody posts on the internet, JD brought his son Vivek to vote today, and then somebody used like AI or something and put me and Vivek holding hands walking to the polling location together. But I don't think that anybody needed to encourage Vivek to go to the polling location that day. When your name is on the ballot, nobody needs to make you go vote. But Vivek's going to make a great governor for the state of Ohio. I believe we have my friend Jay Edwards, who's going to make a great treasurer for the state of Ohio. Jay. And then we've also got Frank LaRose. Frank, thank you so much. A great leader in the state of Ohio, a great Army veteran. And I got a lot of other people I could shout out, but I don't think any of you are up for election in a few months. So you're going to have to, that's going to be it. Because I'm going to talk about steel. I'm going to talk about America's comeback. I'm going to talk about the fact that this is a great day to be a resident of Middletown, Ohio. This is a great day to be right here in southwestern Ohio. And you all know my story. I look at what you all are wearing, and I remember my papaw going to work in an outfit not all that different and coming to this very place to work for nearly 40 years as a welder at what was then Armco Steel. And I can't help but think about the last time a James Vance stood in this very place. He had spent nearly 40 years as a welder at Armco Steel, now, of course, Middletown Works of Cleveland Cliffs. He was not an educated man by any means, but he was a brilliant one. He was a complicated man, a man of faith who never went to church. He was an alcoholic since middle school, but he quit cold turkey as a grandfather. But if he was a complicated man on the inside, he was a man with very simple ambitions. He didn't want to get rich. He had no desire to build a business. That's not who my papaw was. His American dream was well-fed kids, a car engine to tinker with. He loved to build out cars, a lukewarm cup of coffee, never cold, never hot, and of course a donut from either Central Pastry or Milton's Donuts. That was his American dream. I went to Central Pastry today because, of course, I had to go get an ugly donut while I was in town. And the ladies behind the counter, they said, "You've lost way too much weight. What's going on?" And I said, "Well, I don't have a Central Pastry in Washington, D.C. That's what's going on." My papaw, it's funny, he voted in every election. He loved this country, but he did not care for politics. Now, back then, he said that Democrats were the party of union men, so he usually voted Democrat. But he thought way too many politicians were just plain old corrupt, and he was right. All he asked for from his political leaders was very simple. He asked that his taxes be reasonable. He asked that his community be safe. He asked that our politicians ensure that there were good jobs for men and women who were willing to work for them. And he asked that America never be asked to be the policeman of the world. Now, he was my grandfather. I called him Papaw. And he toiled in this very place to give our family the little extras, like I said, for nearly 4 decades. Now, I'm very honored because the welders of this facility made me this incredible, beautiful artisan plaque to commemorate me coming here. And those of you who don't know, Papaw was a welder, so it's particularly meaningful for me and for all the welders behind me and in front of me. Thank you all. It means a great deal. But Papaw was a welder in this place for 40 years. And today his grandson stands here as the Vice President of these United States. It's an amazing thing. And I'm here with a message from the President of these United States. The future of America, the future of the United States, the future of our homes and communities is going to be built right here in Middletown, Ohio. My papaw hated the politicians who ignored this place. He hated the people who saw this as the place of the past. He hated the people who forgot about this town when they should have been fighting for this town. And the unfortunate reality is that they came from both political parties. And they spent the last 40 years telling you it didn't matter if we made things right here or whether we made them in overseas countries. They said it was irrational, sentimental, old-fashioned to want to preserve the things that make the United States of America special. What we really needed, they said, was to compete and have complete market integration with every nation of the third world. Places where you could pay wages at pennies on the dollar, but didn't have to give your workers health care or good benefits in the process. And anytime somebody dared to put an obstacle in front of that set of ideas, anytime they said, you know what, we need to put tariffs or tough immigration policies to stop that, those people were called backwards, they were called wrong. Now in 1984, just to date myself a little bit, don't hate me, 1 month before I was born, the Wall Street Journal, the voice of big business in the United States of America, proposed, and I quote, a 5-word constitutional amendment. There shall be open borders. Now they weren't joking. They weren't being tongue-in-cheek. Because if you look at what they tried to do over the next 40 years, they told you back then exactly what they were trying to do. 16 years later, when I was in high school, right here at Middletown High School, go Middies. The newspaper's lead editorial writer doubled down on that same set of ideas. They said, someone who believes, this is a quote, in the free trade and free movements of capital, they declared, will quite naturally believe in the free movement of labor. That means they're going to ship your jobs overseas and they're going to let anybody who wants to come into the United States of America with no vetting and no care. Being replaced by foreign workers, in other words, it was not an accident, my friends. It was the desired outcome of a generation of American elites. And every single person in this room knows the consequences and what they looked like over a generation right here in Middletown, Ohio. Now, growing up here, I remember when somebody would come to school and tell me that their dad had just found out that he had lost his job, that the factory that employed their parents was going overseas to China or to Mexico. In other cases, American workers didn't just have their jobs destroyed, they got told they were being replaced by a foreign worker, and then they had to train that worker before they got replaced. Some of these stories have made national news and they've stuck with me. 3 years after the Wall Street Journal called for the free movement of labor, a computer programmer, not a mill worker, a computer programmer by the name of Kevin Flanagan was let go at the bank that he worked at. And the bank, they told him, you're only going to get your severance package if you trained a foreign replacement to do your job instead. And it's a heartbreaking story because he did it. He dutifully did what he was asked to do. And on his last day, he packed up his things, he walked to the office parking lot, he got in his truck, and he shot himself. It's not just Kevin, as you all know. Now, economists have measured the ways in which the opioid crisis exploded in the very locations where jobs were shipped overseas. They opened borders demanded by those same people, brought some innocent people, of course it did. But we also know that it brought a lot of cartels, it brought the fentanyl trade, and it left us with millions of orphan children being raised by aggrieved grandparents. That was the story, of course, of my mama and papa. Now, the blood of these men and women, these so-called deaths of despair, I'm sure you've heard that phrase, but it's almost too abstract for me, because the blood of those people, in my view, it pools at the feet of those who would sell out their country for a cheap bottom line. Our politicians, and frankly, the cronies in the private sector, people who didn't want to build in America like Cleveland Cliffs, but people who were happy to build overseas, they got rich, and communities like this one got poor. Politicians, think about this, who came to Washington with a few $1,000s in their bank account, left after decades of public service with millions in stock portfolios. And what did all of you get? What did we get? If you were lucky, your neighbor's job got shipped to a foreign country while your tax dollars got shipped to fraudsters. And if you were unlucky, as I know many people in this room were, you were left raising a grandchild while you were mourning the child killed by the very poison brought across that wide open border. But just as it was a policy choice to let that happen, my friends, it was a policy choice to reverse that decline. And in November of 2024, you made a choice to reverse 40 years of American decline and make Donald Trump the President of the United States. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy or it's all going to happen overnight, but in just 18 months, we have seen an explosion of rebuilding in the American heartland. We have seen trillions, with a T, trillions of new dollars of investment pour into the United States of America to build new smelters, build new manufacturing facilities, build new mills, build new everything. Under President Trump's leadership, factory construction employment has exploded. We've added 83,000 factory construction jobs just since Inauguration Day. And as companies break new ground on new facilities and they start building new assembly lines, imports for capital goods are reaching historic peaks. Because when we build these facilities, we've also got to put the beautiful equipment that go into them. Demand for metal cutting and similar machine tools is hitting its highest levels in a century in the United States of America. And all this new construction is building on a strong base, with manufacturing activity last month reaching its best rate in many, many years. We've created more than 29,000 new jobs in the sector in 2026 so far, reversing years of decline in manufacturing employment. And year over year, manufacturing workers' wages actually went up 4.2%, where they went down under the Biden administration, and frankly, they've been higher in the industries where you've seen that decline in illegal immigration into our country, like construction and commercial trucking. And that brings me to why I'm here today. Because we're not just here to talk about the celebration and the good news and the numbers. We're here to announce that Cleveland Cliffs is making today, right here in Middletown, Ohio, a $1 billion investment in transformational manufacturing right here in our home. Now that's going to protect and create tons of new jobs. We're going to upgrade the iron-making furnace. We're going to implement cutting-edge new technology to optimize furnace operation and improve Middletown's air qualities, because as much as the far left says that you can't have industry, but also clean air and water, we're going to show in this facility that's exactly what you can have. You can have both of it, and you can have it in spades with smart leadership. Now, this is only possible because of my friend Chris Wright's and the President's energy dominance agenda. And I got to say, it's great to have a business that is putting power into the grid rather than just taking it away, and that's exactly what we're going to do here in Middletown. But we also recognize in our administration that real dignity, it's not just about what happens in the factory, it's not just about what happens in the office. We don't just want you to have a good job, as much as I very much want that for every single person in this room. I want you to have peace, and I want you to have security, and I want you to have the real freedom that comes along with knowing that you are the Lord of your own manor. The great Southern populist, probably most of you in the room don't know who I'm talking about, but he's an interesting guy, kind of a crazy guy. His name was Huey Long, and he once said, "Every man a king" was the goal of his political program. But no man is a king if their castle is under siege by criminals. No man is a king if they can't take their family out to dinner without being mugged or having their car jacked. And of course, ending the Biden border invasion was a big part of why we have changed that over the last 18 months. For 4 years, the Democrats invited millions of illegal immigrants into this country to take over our communities and compete with us for jobs and housing. They let in murderers, they let in gang leaders, they let in fraudsters, and they let in drug traffickers, and they did so by the tens of thousands. And for months, we heard Democrats, including people like Sherrod Brown, people who pretend to be the friends of the workers in this facility, saying that they couldn't do anything to fix it, that we needed a new law, we needed a new statute, we needed Congress to pass a new regulation in order to fix Joe Biden's open border. But as we've learned over the past 18 months, it didn't require a new law to close down that border. It just required a new U.S. president. And what we did is we told American corporations that if you wanted new workers, you got to start by training and hiring your own countrymen. And we rewarded the corporations like Cleveland Cliffs that wanted to do that, and we were willing to tell the corporations that wanted to hire foreign labor that if you wanted to bring that stuff back in the United States, you were going to pay a big fat tariff for doing so. And so, for the first time in my life, America saw net migration out of the country as we sent millions of illegal immigrants back home. And as a result, of that, this is maybe the thing I'm the most proud of in the last 18 months. Do you know that all net job growth over the past 18 months went to native-born Americans, reversing a trend for 4 years where it all went to other people? We got a lot of work to do, but we're making progress on all the things that matter the most. On the affordability question, we know that under Joe Biden, the cost of a median price home nearly doubled. Now, for the first time in over 5 years, rents are falling for the first time. We got a lot of work to do, but we're finally seeing that American dream of homeownership become accessible again to our young people. And it's not just affordability, America's getting safer too. We're currently experiencing in the United States of America the largest reduction in violent crime in the history of our country. Homicides. You know, homicides are at their lowest level in our country, the lowest level in 126 years. That's almost hard to believe. Cities like Aurora, Colorado, where, if you remember, I had an interview with somebody in the mainstream media. It was the October before the election, right when we were getting into crunch time. And we were talking about how these violent Venezuelan drug gangs had taken over apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado. And I said this to the anchor, and the anchor comes back and says to me, she says, well, they've only taken over 1 or 2 apartment complexes. And I remember at the time, I guess I wouldn't be a good poker player because I got so excited. I was like, did she really just say it's okay for a Venezuelan drug gang to only take over 1 or 2 apartment complexes? I was ready to jump out of my seat and make this point that a single apartment complex or a single home taken over by a foreign drug gang is one too many, which is why we got to get those people the hell out of the United States of America. But as we systematically address the failures of the past, I got to be honest, as much as I wish we had, we have not gotten a lot of help from Democrats in Washington. Bernie, have we? No. This is not, unfortunately, JFK or FDR's Democrat Party. Hell, it's not even Bill Clinton's Democrat Party. This is the party of diversity quotas rather than opportunity for all. This is the party, the Democrat Party, of graduate students rather than the union and non-union workers who make this facility run. It's sometimes actually hard to understand, like, what do these modern Democrats actually stand for? But look what they say. Pay close attention, and they'll leave these little hints of what they actually care about. Now, El Sayed, this guy running for Senate in Michigan, he once argued, not too long ago, that criticisms of Sharia law were rooted in white supremacy. I'd love to go back in time and tell my papaw that there's a man who claims to stand for working people who says not only should we have Sharia law, but if you criticize it, you're a white supremacist. That's not my papaw's Democrat Party, my friends. Now, I served for 2 years in the Senate with Sherrod Brown. He was a friendly enough guy, but he was a man who claimed to represent this state, but never once raised his voice against Joe Biden's border crisis or against the inflation that was brought on by Joe Biden underinvesting and trying to destroy American industry. If you look at it, at every step of the way, these Democrats have voted for foreign workers and fraudsters over American citizens and hard-paying taxpayers. They have voted for corporations who sent jobs overseas rather than good American businesses who invested in you, invested in your communities, and increased your jobs. Who do these Democrats put first? Everyone else. You know who the Trump administration puts first? Americans. You, my friends, that's who we fight for. But you know, these Democrats, they've opposed every turn our work to make trade fair again, to stop letting foreign countries take advantage of us. They screamed and cried as we protected our communities from illegal immigration. They sued, they boycotted, they protested, they rioted, and they obstructed, all in the name of defending the interests of foreigners over American citizens. That's right. Now, some of the stories sound insane. In one case, we were working to deport a convicted child rapist in the state of Minnesota. Tim Walz. You remember Tim Walz? Caught wind. And you know what he did? He pardoned the guy. He pardoned a literal child rapist to prevent him from being deported out of the United States of America. Now, we went ahead and got this guy out of our country anyways. And Waltz, it gets better. Waltz asked the country what good it accomplished. Did that make us any safer? That is a direct quote from the Democrat governor of Minnesota. To which I'd say, as the father of 4 young children, 10-year-olds and everybody else can breathe a little bit easier in Minnesota. Yes, Tim, of course it's good to get violent criminals the hell out of the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're up against in November. Whether it's child predators, Somali fraudsters, foreign gang members, or even visa fraudsters who are working to undercut American wages and steal from American taxpayers, the Democrats know who they stand for. It's anyone but you. Think about it. Every single Democrat, every one, voted against no taxes on tips, voted against no taxes on Social Security, voted against no taxes on overtime, and voted against no taxes on car loans so long as those cars were made right here in America. Now, we got to ask ourselves, imagine if they get back in power, what are they going to vote for? If these radicals take control of Congress, they're going to pass the craziest agenda America has ever seen. You're not going to have to take my word for it. You just got to hear these guys actually talk about it themselves. One incoming Democrat congresswoman wants to abolish prisons, she wants to abolish police, and she wants to abolish the borders. And let me just say, that's the only real question on the ballot in November. Do we believe in America, or do we believe in nothing? We in this room believe in America, and we're going to fight for it, my friends. You know, when I reflect on 250 years of American history, what I can't help but feel above everything else is gratitude. I reflect on this incredible life that I've been able to lead thanks to the generosity of so many of the people in this community, people who are here today, friends and family. My stepmom is here, teachers, people who made it possible for me to live the American dream when everything else was fighting against it. The cool thing about this nation is that in our own way, making our own contribution, we've built this country together as one American family. Black and white, rich and poor, whether you've been in this country for 10 seconds or whether your family has been in this country for 10 generations, think about it. Every accomplishment of American greatness has a long line of people, many of them who don't get their part in the story, but we all know we're very much part of it. Now, of course, I grew up in an era where we had already gone to the moon. But think about this. When we went to the moon, of course, it was the astronauts. Everybody wanted to be an astronaut when I was growing up. Neil Armstrong just lived up the street when I was growing up. They were amazing men. They tested the limits of physical realities. They had, quite literally, out-of-this-world courage. But it was not just them. It was the scientists. It was the computer programmers who designed the rockets, who designed the software that went in it. It was the janitor who made sure that facility was a clean and orderly place to go to work so that these guys could build the rockets that took us to the moon. It was men like my papaw who worked at steel mills all across America and who built parts and materials that were American strong and good enough to test the limits of interplanetary travel for the first time in human history. It was the moms and dads doing the quiet and, as I know, often thankless work of raising the kinds of boys and girls who could become astronauts or become scientists or become welders or eventually become moms and dads themselves. The story of our beautiful nation and its greatest achievements has been written by all of us together. Some of us contributed a few sentences, and others contributed whole chapters of the book, but it is the story of our people. It is the story of our parents before we were born, and it will be the story of our grandchildren long after we're gone. The story of this country is one of a foundation laid by normal, common, and good people who make the great achievements of Western civilization possible. You know, one of my kids is ready to go back to school next week, and I learned through him of a classmate who suffered from a terrible illness. Little girl, beautiful little girl. And as fate would have it, just a crazy coincidence, I actually knew a little girl when I was growing up in Middletown, Ohio, who suffered from the exact same illness. And what I remember is that back then, it was considered a death sentence. And now it's serious. I don't want to underweight it, but this little girl is expected to survive after she gets her course of treatment. Now think about this. In just a single generation, a disease has gone from a death sentence to another very difficult problem that Americans together can fix. From the people who are making the therapeutics, to the people who are designing and building the facilities where they're made, to the men and women who manufacture the steel where the medicines that saved that little girl's life were made. It's not possible without all of us working together. And when I look at this girl's life, the fact that she's going to be able to grow up and live a normal life, I cannot help but feel gratitude for every piece, every chapter of the American story that made it possible. To the researchers and scientists, think about this, who have toiled for decades finding treatments to the world's most difficult diseases. To the businesses, the parents, the private citizens, the philanthropists who funded the kind of moonshot research to take this disease to be something that could be treated. To the government that created a climate of innovation for the world's deadliest diseases. Think about all the teachers who made it possible for this little girl, my son's teacher too, who made it possible for this little girl to come to school despite her illness. And I got to brag on my little boy a little bit, and I hope I won't feel emotional or get too emotional, but I can't help but feel gratitude to him. Because I got a note a couple months ago, every father will appreciate this, and he told us that in this girl's weakened state, even though she was still trying to come to school most days, that their daughter was worried about going down the steps to the playground. But that every day, our little boy volunteered to hold her hand and make sure she got to go to recess with confidence. Now, our founding fathers wrote in the Constitution that the purpose of this union was to secure the blessings of liberty. And what greater blessing of liberty than to know that this little girl has a good chance, to know that the work of an army of doctors and researchers made it possible for your little girl or your little guy to show a moment of compassion to this little girl, to show that greatness that I believe God places in the heart of every human being, made possible because this little girl happened to grow up at a time and in the greatest country in the history of the world. That's the American story, my friends. Look, it's not my job to tell you how to live your life. It's not my job to tell you who to fall in love with, how to worship, or even whether to root for the Bengals or the Browns. Though, sorry, John, you should be rooting for the Bengals. You too. Actually, Bernie, you're probably more of a Cleveland fan than John is. But my job the job of the President of the United States, the job the President demands of every single person in his administration, from the Vice President on down, is to fight for you. It's to fight for your blessings of liberty, for a neighborhood that's safe, a job that's dignified, a church that's protected, and a community of citizens where every single person has both the right and the duty, but also the obligation to write their story in the chapter of the United States of America. And so, my fellow Americans, my fellow Ohioans, my fellow Middletonians, I believe that this November, you and I and our fellow citizens, we're going to go to the ballot box and we're going to face a choice. Do we believe in the United States of America? Do we believe in the hardworking men and women who built this great nation? Do we demand that our government serve us and our children rather than fraudsters and criminals? Do we demand that the American president fight for the American people first? Then, my friends, I ask you, each and every one of you, to stand on your own conscience, to vote for patriots, to vote for people who are going to fight for you, to vote for John Houston for the United States Senate and for Vivek for the governor of Ohio. Get out there and fight for yourself by telling the far-left radicals who have taken over the Democratic Party, this is not your country, it's our country, and we're going to fight for it. God bless you, and thank you for having me.
Hello, Pittsburgh, still be a wonder. Let me thank you for your time. You were the 40-hour week for a living, just to send it on down the line. This is for the one who swings the hammer, driving home the nail, for the one behind the counter, ringing up the sale, for the one who fights the fires, the one who brings the mail, for everyone who works behind the scenes. You can see them every morning in the factories and the fields, in the city streets and the quiet country towns, working together like spokes inside a wheel. They keep this country turning.